So, hello everyone. Welcome to another session for GameNet. This should be our last session for lecture. After this, it's just going to be project making, right? Uh, well, technically, next week we're just going to discuss on what kind of project you'll have for your finals, but there's no lecture. All right. So today we're going to talk about multiple scenes. No, well, what kind of multiple scenes? You know how, like I discussed before, how Stardew Valley is able to keep track all the players position and all. um so we're gonna do something that maybe not just Stardew Valley. You know how you have like where players are able to enter like houses or dungeons, and then it's still keeping track of the other players where maybe they're somewhere else in the map. Maybe another way you can think about is something like, let's say we're going to do an MMORPG kind of thing. So imagine how is the host server or the server where the game is keeping track of everyone's position, everyone's action and all. So how they do that is using additive scenes. No? So we're gonna be discussing that. Um yeah. So like if you think about mm, let's go think about MMORPG. It would be bad if your computer is trying to generate all the data from all like the whole map. No, what if you just want to generate for this certain map now where you won't be able to you don't want to see the other players. So what you'll do is you do something like a this additive scene. All right, so before we go to that, I'll show you what it looks like in Paint. So I'll give you the idea. So let's say we have our server right here. This is our server. And in that server, we have multiple players. Uh, oops, we have the other clients. Client 1, client 2, client 3, then client 4, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so let's say we have the players. We have all the players. This is from client 1. This is from client 2, client 2, client 3, and client 4. Now, what if client 1 he tries to go to or he ooh, what did I do? He wants to go to another like another scene, no, some other kind of scene. How is this gonna be replicated for all the clients? Because for client 1, he's already in let's say scene A. He's in scene A, and then everyone else is in scene B. How will clients 2, 3, and 4 know where his position is in scene A so that when they enter scene A, his position, a client one's position will still be wherever he's supposed to be. It would be kind of taxing if um we're always sending data to all the clients na hey, client one is in this position in scene A, and it's always sending it. No, we don't want that. So what should we do? What we can do is Within the server, all the scenes from A, B, and C, A, B, and C, the server always keeps track of all these scenes. For clients 2, 3, and 4, it is unloaded. Wala siya. So let's say si client 3. Client 3 is in scene B. However, in his what do you call this? In his game, scene A and scene C are not there. Okay? Si client 4, let's say he's in scene A. Again, scene B and scene C is not there. However, for the server, all the scenes are loaded and all the players will be in the wherever scene they are. That way, um, when a client, let's say, enters to scene B, uh, what we'll do is since the server knows where the position this is now, it will automatically load it for the other client and malaman niya kung asan yung position nito. And it's like everything is synced. All right. So server is always keeping track of all the scenes. So that's the plan. Right? Does that make sense? So it's a no. Server is always knows where everyone is. Client, they'll just keep track of their own wherever scene they are. That way, server is the only one that's having a problem with everything. Technically, we leave it to server to handle the positionings and whatever. All we want is the client to just handle its own um thing for wherever the client is. Right? Does that make sense? Yes. So yeah, what I said, server would always know where what the client is doing in every scene. Server will always know that. However, for the clients, let's say this client one, it doesn't care what's happening here. Wala siyang pake. It is only doing whatever it is doing in the scene where they are. All right. So we're going to do something like that. And to do that, we need something called additive scenes. Has anyone ever touched scene manager in Unity? Unity's own scene manager. Has anyone tried changing scenes for in any of their Unity games? Yes. Okay. Have you ever tried having loading multiple scenes in one game? For example, I mean in one instance of the game. Let's say, example, that tong online room and they're all here. Have you ever tried working something like a persistent scene? A little bit like persistent scene. We would we would additive load the persistent scene so that's always there and all. So something like that. Like the scene is always there, but you're working on just one scene now. Something like that. Something like that. Yes, we have it as a capstone game namin now. Okay. All right. So we're gonna do something like that. Let me just unload. Oh, let me remove. Uh, So for the others, I'll teach you muna yung what is, how do we do the additive scene. So let's go to demo network, we'll manage it. Also, I think, let me just change my display settings. Ulitin ko to. Yeah, in case na hindi nyo mabasa. Okay? So, how do we do additive scenes? First, you'll need scene management using Unity. Dot scene, Unity engine. Dot scene management. In here, we have the functions of. I mean, we have the class of the scene manager. So we have something like scene manager, scene manager. Oh wait, sorry, no. We have scene manager dot create scene, get all scenes, get scene at, load scene async. So these are the available functions we have. What we need here is this load scene async, and unload scene async. We'll also use some other stuff here, such as move game objects to scene or move game object to scene. Okay, but for you to do additive scene, let's say load scene. In here we have multiple um, iterations of it. Build index, name. What's important is this load scene mode. Let's say this is 0. Load scene mode has single, which says here closes all current loaded scenes and loads a scene. And we have additive, adds the scene to the current loaded scenes. Right? So normally, the default is single. When you try to use load scene or load scene async without the, the load scene here, what it'll do is it'll be a single. It will unload the other scenes and load whatever scene is placed in here. That's the normal. Wait. But with load scene mode additive, that's where it will just add into it. Right? Then we also have load scene async. So if you go enumerator, oops, enumerator, that's load scene async, scene manager, no, load scene async. This is a async operation. This is like a way for you to keep track if the loaded scene, the scene has loaded, or like if you want something to wait first before I mean you want to wait first before um I mean sorry, you want to you want to wait for the scene to load muna before you do something, right? So you use this. So you have sorry, not a wait. Yield return. Oh, sorry, not yield. Oh, no, I think yield return, and then example wait lang. Ay, wait ba to? I it's not enumerator. Is it enumerator? Yeah, this. I just need to use using system not there we go. So this one, it will literally wait for this to happen before you want to do something here. So that is load async. Same thing with scene manager dot load unload scene async. So same thing. Like if you want to wait for some, you want to wait for this first before you do something here. All right, that is async. Questions for loading, unloading before we start coding the actual thing. None. Okay. So first thing to do here is we want to load all the other scenes for the server because we want server to always keep track of everything. So how do we do that? First we need on room start server, meaning this only happens on the server. I want to get all the names of the scenes to load. So I want a list of string for the scene names. And in here, for int I is equal to, okay, I'm gonna put a number here and I'll tell you why I use this. Scene manager. I'm gonna iterate through all the scenes uh in the build settings. So scene count in build settings I plus plus. So why 3? The 3, what I'm gonna, because we have at first 0, which is the offline scene. We don't want that. We don't want to load that for the server. This is 1, the room scene. So if we're using the room network manager, we don't want to include this. And then 2 will be our persistent scene. We need that persistent scene so that our server will know what are the players doing. So let's just create that one. This is persistent scene. Okay. So in the build settings, what's important is important. We need the offline, the room, and the persistent scene to take up 0, 1, and 2. So important. We don't want this to be loaded for the server. We want to load everything after this. So we have online scene, and we can, for now, we'll just click another online scene. This is game scene 2. Okay, so you want the server to load both of these. That is why we start at 3. 0, 1, 2 is again the offline, the room persistent, so we start at 3. Then scene names dot add path dot get file, oops, include using system.io. I'm going to use this because I need to get just the names of the scenes. So path dot get file name without extension. We use C utility. So scene utility is it just has utilities. What do you mean utilities? It's just like if you need to use it, you need to to get, sorry, utility is mostly used for trying to get a certain data from something. It's just a utility. You just use it. So this one gets scene path by build index. Okay, so we're just adding the names here. We're gonna do that so that when we're gonna load the scene, so on server, so here, on room server on on, it's not here. Siguro let's remove this muna. We don't need this first. Para hindi masyadong magulo. Override. On server scene changed. Why do I need this? Remember that how we start the game? It's, where's that? How do we start the game? I think it's in room player. We start the game through this one. Server change scene. Server change scene calls on server scene changed. We check here. Server change scene. Check here. On server change scene. Okay. So this is called, it's going to be called when we change scene. If the scene name is equal to the gameplay scene, that means we have started the game. So when we have started the game, we're gonna load on sa server lahat ng mga scenes. So let's go make a maker. Server load sub scenes. So here for each string scene name and scene names, yield return scene manager dot load scene sync. So this will be the scene name, and then this one, we'll use this one, load scene parameters. I want this because it has another thing that we need. Load scene parameters, which is not this one, but this one, local physics mode. We need to set what physics mode are we using. Since this is a 2D game, it's this one, physics 2D. Okay. And then I'm gonna need a boolean here. Is sub scene loaded. I'm gonna make this is sub scene loaded. Okay. So here, start coroutine server load subscenes. There. Oh, so let's test it out first. Yeah. We have an online scene. We also have an online scene and then game scene. Why? Because I'm supposed to do the persistent scene, but since actually we can do that. Instead of room scene, it will be the persistent scene. Oops, nope. Sorry. Instead of the gameplay scene as the online scene, it will be the persistent scene. Sorry. And so you see the persistent scene. The thing kind of phased through because right now the player is in the persistent scene. And we're going to do something about that. Okay, so we have online scene, and game scene. Another thing that's important that we need to add in the editor is this thing called uh what do I need to add here? Hold on. Network. Mm, hold on. Trying to remember. Interest. Scene. Scene interest management. This one handles. This is the one that will handle the how it interacts with changing scenes using additive scene. Okay, this will handle it so that alam niya kung ano yung iliload niyang mga items for the client. Okay, so it's automatic. Okay, so if you try to do parallel sync, so far, any questions? How everything is loading? No? Okay. So let me just wait for this so I can show you what it'll look like for the client. And let's join. Ready, ready. And you'll see here, persistency is the only thing that's loaded here. But for the server, it's all the other um, scenes. Okay. So now that we have all the other scenes, now we're gonna have to make the other. We're gonna have to try to load the additive and unload the other scenes. So let me go on server connect. Nope, 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 nope. Nope. What am I looking at? On client change scene. On client change scene. None. None. Let me just remove this. Override on client scene change. Pangatapan pala. Override on client change scene. So these are two things. On client change scene will tell us later on how things are loading and unloading. So we have this new scene, the scene operation, custom handling, and I'll show you where that will be. Okay, so let's do the additive scenes first. So we have I enumerator, load additive scene. This will be the scene name. Is in transition. Oh, let's click the boolean. Is in transition. We're gonna use this later so that we don't accidentally change scenes while it's transitioning. So is in transition is equal to true. Then if mode is equal to network manager mode dot client mode. So this one, it tells us that, oh, this will only run for the client. Because what we're going to do here is we're going to load the scenes. Scene manager dot load scene async, scene name, load scene mode, additive. So while load thing is not equal to null and load scene is done, yield return null. So meaning while it's not yet done, I want you to just go to the next frame. Go to the next frame until the scene has finally loaded. This will be done kapag na-load na. And we can finally get out of this. Then network client that is loading scene is equal to false, is in transition is equal to false. And then in case you want something to happen when the scene has loaded, on room client scene changed. Okay. So all this does is it'll load for the client. We're just gonna wait until it's done. If we don't do this, it'll look like for the player, the client na parang nagahang yung computer nila. So you want to do this so that um, we're like skipping frames now until it finally has loaded. Same thing for our unload. Unload additive scene is in transition is equal to true. Yield return. Oh, sorry. If mode is equal to network manager mode is client only, yield return scene manager dot unload scene async. Sorry, string scene name. And then yield return resources dot unload unused asset. So this one again, unload. This one will unload the other assets that are not being used. It's just in case lang. Then same thing, network client that is loading scene, go to false, is in transition, go to false, on room client, scene changed, there. So if you're not doing rooms, network room client, network room manager, you will do the on client scene changed instead. If you're not using the rooms. Okay. So where do we use this? I'm going to use it here on our on client change scene. If the scene operation is equal to scene operation dot load additive start coroutine load additive scene new scene name. If scene operation is equal to scene operation dot unload additive start coroutine coroutine unload additive scene new scene name. Okay. Right now, you're not sure where this is happening because later on, I'm going to show you where this is actually being called. Okay. But for now, we're setting that when we're doing load additive as a scene operation, do the load additive. If we're doing the unload additive, we're doing this operation. Okay. Questions so far? None? Okay. So this one, is in if it is not in transition, you do the base dot on client scene change. Okay. Just in case. Just in case that we are in transition. Okay. No questions? All right. Now we're gonna have to move. We're gonna have to move our player from the persistent scene into the actual game scene. Why are we doing this? We're doing this part because we need that persistent scene so that the the clients will always know where the position of the other clients are. They're actually just in the persistent scene. Right? I'll show you that later, how that looks like. But that's how things work. So that clients will always know where the other players are. They're actually just loaded in the persistent scene. So, mm, on room, where am I looking at? Nope, nope, nope. On room server scene loaded for layer. This here. Create game. Yeah. On room server scene loaded for layer. It is called on a server when it is told that the client has finished switching from the room scene to the gameplay your scene. When this happens, I'm gonna want to move the player from the game room scene, which is the persistent scene, to the actual game scene. So we're gonna add one more variable here. This will be the um, scene, and this will also be uh, serialized field. This one, what's a good name for this? First scene to load. First scene to load. Okay, we're gonna use this later. Where we at? Here. Okay, so from here, uh, if you check this one, it's a bool. Okay, from here, network server dot replace player for connection. Why am I doing this? If you check where the actual base is, this one, where it's being called, it's actually a boolean. If it is false, it will return. If it's true, I will replace. Why are we doing this? I want to do something first before replacing the player connection. So I'll do that later. So for now, we have con player is the game player, and then keep authority, replace player option dot keep authority. So this one will be just return false. Okay, so from here, when they load into the actual scene, we're gonna place them. Then we're gonna move them to the first scene to load. Hi, enumerator. Add player to game scene. This is network connection to client on. So while the subscene is not yet loaded, yield return null. I want to make sure that all the subscenes have been loaded before I do this. So we're gonna keep skipping. And when they have finally loaded, network identity, this one I want to get all the objects with network identity. I want to enable them. Find objects of type network identity, and then for each network identity in all objects, I will do identity dot enable is equal to true. And then this is the part where we're gonna move the player. Game object player object is equal to con dot identity dot game object. This is the game player object. Okay. Network server dot remove player for connection. So I'm gonna type this first before I explain what is this. Okay. Before we move the player from one scene to another, I need to remove them from the connection. Why? The position of the player will actually desync when we move the player from one scene to another. So in order for us to not make that happen, I need to remove them from the connection first. Remove them, move them to another scene, and then put them back. That's why I'm keeping this here. Okay. So after this is where we're gonna move them. Scon dot send. So this is a mirror function. This is how we send messages, and I'll show you what it does. New scene message. Scene name is equal to first scene to load. Scene operation is equal to scene operation dot load additive, and then custom handling true. Okay, does this look familiar to you? Scene name, scene operation, custom handling. This should look familiar because if we go to our load additives and unload, sorry. If we go to our on client change scene, scene operation, custom handling. So this on client change scene is called when this message is sent. No, so where do you find that? If you actually follow on client change scene, go to the definition, go to the base, where is this called? Client change scene. Where is client change scene called? On client scene internal. Where is this called? Register handler. When a scene message is sent, this is what's happening, which is where we just came from. On client change scene, and then on client change scene. And that is where our function is. All right. So that is it. This is it. Con.send new scene message. That will eventually go into this function. Right. So after we send that, I need to move them to the scene. So scene manager dot move game object to scene. What game object are we moving? We are moving player object. We're moving the gameplay here into scene manager that get scene by path first scene to load. So we are moving the player object into the first scene to load. Then I'll just make it skip for I'll make it skip frame. Wait for we do this because um syncing the syncing of the objects. If I don't do this, objects aren't gonna be correctly synced. Then network server dot add player for connection. So this is where we bring them back. So we took them out just for a frame. We took them out, send them, move them to another scene, and then put them back. This happens in just 2 frames. This is the first frame. I wait for a frame. This next frame. Okay. And then because Unity doesn't really handle well when moving objects to another scene, I need to make the rigid body type back to rigid body type 2D dot dynamic. Yeah. This is only because the moment you remove the player connection, Mirror will automatically set the rigid body of the object that the player was just, on. It'll automatically make it to kinetic. So, sorry, kinematic. So right here, I want them back to dynamic. Okay. And then finally, we're going to call this start coroutine, coroutine, add player to game scene on. Okay. So technically, I could just have also a game object na lang. Game player object. I could do that also, just so we don't have this. But same bananas. So what happened? When the host starts the game, this is called on room server scene loaded for player, which is from room scene to game player scene. After that, I want to make them go from that persistent scene into the first scene to load. In order to do that, besides enabling all the network identity, I remove the connection of the player, send a message to load to the new scene, move game object to scene. So this will move it from the persistent scene into the first scene to load, and then add them back. Questions about this part? So it's a lot of code just to move a player from one scene to another. I mean, from the persistent scene um to the first scene to load. Ah, okay. No questions? Okay. So, what do you want the first scene to load? I want online scene. Okay. Let me just, because I'm getting irritated by the shaking. Hold on. No? Mouse. Find my mouse. Okay. So, you done that. So let's try it out. Where's this? Here. Reload. Host. Join. Ready. Start. You see, right now we have the persistent scene, and then both our players are on player here and this one here. If we go to our client, we have the persistent scene, and right now they're both in the persistent scene. But for the server, they're on the online scene. All right. Why am I floating? Most probably because dynamic. Let me just fix something here. Scene, persistent scene. I don't want a camera. Hmm. Okay. Um, just to add lang, I need network identity for all the objects that are on the scene. We add that. We also do that for the other scene. Uh, this is network identity. This is network identity. This is for our server to keep track of things. Okay, again, offline. Why am I floating? Host, join. Okay, let me just double check. Where are we at? Rigid body dynamic. Mm. Ah, okay, okay. I think I know why. Um, Another thing that the mirror requires you is that each time you change scenes, you need to have a physics simulator. This is actually also in their mm, documentation when it comes to additive scenes. Unity doesn't really do this well when changing scenes from one scene to another. They usually just make all the physics not work properly. So we need a physics simulator. All it does is it'll just make the physics work. Physics simulator. In here, um, physics 2D, physics 2D, and then we also have physics. Okay, on start. Oh, boom. Hmm, simulate physics and simulate physics 2D. Physics. Hold on. Physics is equal to physics. So nga pala to. Hold on. There's a code for this. Physics simulator. Right. If network server dot active. Okay, let's work. Physics scene. Yeah. So physics 2D is equal to game object dot scene dot get physics 2D. And then physics is equal to game object dot scene dot get physics. And then simulate physics is equal to physics that is valid and uh physics is not equal to physics. Oh, sorry. Physics dot default physics scene. We also do this for the 2D. Simulate physics 2D. Physics 2D is valid and physics 2D is not equal to physics 2D dot default physics scene. So void void fixed update if simulate physics scene sorry physics dot simulate time dot fixed data time. And then if simulate physics 2D physics dot simulate time dot fixed data time. And then if the network server is not active, Just return. Oh, wait. What's happening here? I'm in here. I'm just getting the physics scene right here, and then this is just to check if I should simulate it or not. If it was a 3D, sorry, if it wasn't a 2D na physics, it will simulate it. But if it is a 2D physics, it will simulate physics 2D. Yeah. So we need to add this for all the scenes that we want to run. In this case, online the online scene. So I just need to have physics simulator. We can name it anything. I need that here. And I also need that in game scene too. Yeah. So it's a requirement. It's a requirement by Unity also. It's because of the additive scenes. It doesn't know how to properly do it. So that's why um, we need to have that. So host, ready, join. Oops. Join, ready. Oh, host, join, ready, ready, start. And there we go. Okay. So it's a requirement that we have that simulator on. That simulator the for the scenes. Questions? Clarification? No questions? So again, this is just a no. This is just to do the physics. But you should have seen both of the players are I mean the client and the server is handling the additive scene. In this case, for for the server, it has all the scenes. For the client, it's only having the persistent and the online. Okay. Right now we have a problem here, which is we have two audio listeners. Either I mean you can choose to put the camera on the player. You can do that. Or you can just have one camera. Pwede din. I don't know. Um, both are fine naman. For me, I'm just gonna move this now. Audio listener. Okay. So with that, let's try to create a teleporter that will teleport us from one scene to another. Online scene. Let's go create teleporter, which is just a box collider 2D. That is a trigger. Then let's adjust this up here. Maybe move it a bit to the right, to the left. Let's go create scene teleport. So this one, I will have to make it a network behavior. So what we're gonna have for our scene teleporting? First, we need to know what scene do we want to teleport to. So you have scene, and then serialize field, private string scene to teleport to. And then we can also have a um, um, location, um, location name, spawn name. Serialize field. Okay. So, on trigger enter 2D. If it is the server, if it is not the server, return. So we only want this to run for the server. If it was the player, so get component player controller, we'll make them teleport. So we have a I enumerator, send player. This is the player. And this one, I'll just make it a server callback. So only an active server will run this method. So it's like a double, para just in case. Send player. So in here, network identity is equal to null. If player dot, so I'll use try get component. Do you guys know try get component? So try get component is literally just like get component. So this is the same CUDA. Get component, network identity. If identity is equal to null, okay. This code, yield. Wait. This code is the same as if player dot try get component network identity out identity yield. So this two is the same code. Nothing can go like this power. It'll have the same number of lines ish. Okay, same. Paras lang yan. Hindi ko pwedeng na to. Yeah. So you can use this one here outside of it. But yeah, they're the same code. I'll just use that now. Okay. Then after make sure there is an identity network connection to client is equal to play identity dot connection to client. Oh, on. And then just on sanity check. We made sure that there's a connection to client. Let's make them, let's send them to another scene. Uh, Network server that remove player for connection. Con remove player option dot keep active. Con dot send new scene message. So remember this scene name is equal to this dot game object dot scene dot path. So this is the path of the wherever the scene is. Scene operation is equal to unknown additive custom handling true. So we unloaded them first. Sorry, it should be after. So unload the scene first. Remove the player from the connection. We wait lang. This should be con.send new scene message scene name equal to scene to teleport to scene operation is equal to scene operation dot load additive custom handling true. So we loaded the scene. We can go network server dot add player connection con player, and then same thing, player dot get component rigid body 2D body type is equal to dynamic. Don't forget yield return new wait for end frame. Okay, this should be correct. So it's like the thing that we did in Network Room Manager. But for now, we unloaded muna the scene. Unload it for the player. Remove the player from the connection. Load the new scene. Wait for the end of frame. And then add player for connection. Later, I'll use this spawn name. Okay, so start coroutine, then player collision dot game object. All right. So let's see. Let's see if I broke something. This one, don't forget to scene to teleport to. Oh, sorry. I mean network identity. And then the scene asset, I want them to load into game scene 2. So for now, wala pa naman tayong spawn name. Start. Scale. So it should be around here, no? Somewhere. How do we even know we teleported? Are we even there? Do I need rigid body? I need rigid body. Online scene. Teleporter. Rigid body. 2D. But we are static. And then I just want to change the color of this. Just so we know we just went to another scene. Oops. Okay. Moving, moving, moving. It did not hit the teleporter. Why did you teleport? Collision, get control, okay, controller. On trigger, enter 2D. Scene, teleport. Let me just double check now. Online scene, teleport, static, is trigger. Oops. What is this? 0, 0. Yeah, no, don't mind that muna. Moving, we're moving, we're moving. Oh, oh, I forgot. Move break connection, send them to a new one. Forgot to have scene manager dot move game object to scene. This is player, and then scene manager dot get scene by path scene to teleport to. Okay. We're moving, we're moving, we're moving. And then we are now in the other scene. Right? So let's try that for our client. Join, ready, ready. We're moving, and then okay. You see that player, the other player is in the persistent scene, and then we're now in. Oh, is this us? Oh, it is us. My bad. We're in the persistent scene. But if I go move the another client into the other place, we're now in the persistent scene. Both of them are now in the persistent scene. In the server though, they're in game scene. But for our client, they're just both in the persistent scene. Okay. Post join. Ayan. You see, our client is now in game scene 2. Our host is still in online scene. However, in the client, our player is in the persistent scene, but game scene 2 is loaded. Okay, questions? Clarification? None? Okay, what if we want them to load to a certain location in the other scene? Let's say I want them to load here on the left side instead. We'll have a game object here. We can put a star there just so we can see it. And here we need to make it network identity. We also need to give it a network start position. This one we're going to use it just so I'll just show you why. It's fun so that we know this is a position. And then important is the name here. I would say this is um and these names though, these names of the network start position, try to make it unique. In this case, this is scene 2 location 1. Scene 2 location 1. Or you can just make it smaller. Lock lock 1. So why is the name important? In our online, the other scene, it should also be called lock 1 in here. What are we going to do? When you try to send the player, I'm gonna have to call a cursed um, a cursed function. No, game object get find game objects. No, find objects of type. This will be network start positions. We are all looking for the all objects of network start positions. Okay, why do we need this? Because there's no way for our game object to know where all the other objects are. We can we can't even put them here, to the editor. We can't like say that they will teleport into this game object. We can't because they're two different scenes. So only way is to have a find objects of type, and then we're gonna have to look for um all the objects that are in the scene to teleport to. Okay. So how would it look like? Um, so this one, network start positions, and then for each position, network start position pause in positions. If pause that game object that scene is equal to scene to teleport to, uh vector 3 pause position is equal to pause the game object that transform the position. No, I think we can skip game object. We break. Oh wait, no, this one, let's just say sige, 0 na lang. Okay. And then after we move them, before we add them to the connection, we do player dot transform the position is equal to position. We move them to this position first and then add them. Important. So let's try it out. Offline, offline. Let me just move my character to the other side. Nope. Ooh. You know what? I can just move this guy to the other side. Dapat. Mm. Anyway, so we go jump here. Oh, what did you do? Why are you stuck here? Hold on. Go here. Okay. Why did that not work on the other one? And then if I go here and hit the teleport, I should jump to the other side. All right. So that's how you do it. If you don't want to do it here, if you don't want to do this in the set player, we can probably do it. Start. I know. Override. Start. And start server. We can have like a coroutine. Wait for ilang seconds just so everything's loaded first before we do this. Okay, so we can do that naman. Hold on. Let me just see what it is. But yeah, you can do a start coroutine and then after ilang after ilang seconds, you run this, you do this, and then save that into a vector. Just so you don't, if you don't want to do this during, while playing. Okay? Ah, sorry. I forgot the was that game object name is equal to spawn. My bad. You should have this in case you have multiple start positions. All right, questions, clarification? None. None. Okay. You sure? None? So I hope you understand it. What we're doing is we're sending it to unload first, then remove the connection, load the new scene, move the player game object to the other scene. This part is just to make it spawn to wherever location you want them to spawn to. And then after that, wait for a frame just so things can sync in, and then add player for connection. If you don't do this, there's a chance that they're not gonna be synced. That's why we have a wait for end of frame. This one is just so physics will be running. We need this because additive loading in Unity gets kind of finicky sa Unity. That's why they don't automatically do the physics agad. So you need to have a physics simulator. All right. Questions? Clarification? None. If I gave you one more, if I show you one more thing, sasabog na utak nyo. That other thing is just a fade in, fade out. Kaya pa ba? If not, I'm just gonna give you a video to watch. It's practice. I have no idea what practice means, but do you want? It's gonna be maybe 10 minutes of me explaining how to do the fade in, fade out. Just so when you change scenes, it's not like bigla bigla. Silence means yes, kaya pa. Okay lang kung hindi. I can give a video. I I won't be offended if kung hindi nyo kaya. Sige, kaya niyan. Madali lang to. So, uh, let's just create the fade in, fade out. I'm gonna do it in the mm, offline. Ano siya offline? Okay? It's offline scene na. Offline scene? Yeah, we can technically do it in the offline scene. So let's do the fade. For the fade, we need this to be a canvas. In the overlay, and then we need a scaler, canvas scaler, scale with screen size. It actually doesn't, you don't really care. We need an image, which is literally just nothing. This will make it black. Where we at? And then scale the anchor, make it stretch around the edges. So do that Alt Shift. Okay. Alt Shift. So this is the image. Make sure that this should not be a recast target, just in case. Image, fade, overlay, scale, and then um, fade manager. Okay, so we have the image, hmm, image, serialized field, and then we need a static public static fade manager instance. So on awake instance is equal to this. All right. And then let's do the iterators. Iterator fade bool will fade. So image dot color is equal to will fade. If it is about to fade, the color will be clear. If it is not about to fade, it's about to fade from black to clear. The color should be all one. And then duration. Let's put a duration here. Serialized field, float duration. Let's also make a public for that. Public float duration. So this is just a getter. It'll just get duration. Why do you want to do this? Just so we can encapsulate things. So you don't show everything. So if I get instance dot duration, it would literally just get this. Just so we don't, if you don't want other scripts to change the actual duration. I think duration. Let's make it now. Total duration. It should be times 2. Because fade in, fade out. Right? Float time is equal to duration. While time is greater than 0, time minus equal to time dot dot time yield return not. So float percentage is equal to time divided by duration. So what does this mean? If the time is already half, let's say 0.5, duration is 1, the total percentage, we are at 50%. If time is at 0.25 and let's say the duration is 1, you're at 1 25%. No. So image dot color is equal to uh, new color the pala one. It's all black. 111. So this one is based on if it will fade or not. So if it will fade, it will go from 0 to 1. So that is 1 minus percentage. If it will not fade, it is just percentage. It's from black to clear, percentage lang. Does this make sense? So if, because we're going to start at duration, you can make this, you can put this opposite if you want, but we're going to start at duration and we're just going to trickle down to all the way up to 0. So meaning from 100% it's going down 99, 98, 76, 75, right? 50, 25. If it's about to fade, if you wanted to make it fade, that is from, hold on. Yeah, from 0 to 1. But if we're not going to make it fade, that is from 1 to 0. Ooh. Anyway, image.color is equal to uh, new color will fade. Hmm. Oh, wait. I'm getting confused. Will fade? You know what? Wait, let's just fade in, fade out. We're just confusing ourselves here. I'm confusing myself here. Fade in, fade out. If you're gonna fade out, it starts at 1, then from 1 to 100%, it'll go down to 0. But if you're gonna fade in, we're gonna start from 0, then 0, 0, going to 100%, and then this is 1. Okay, and then I just want to make this game object. Oh, I need to make the image. Game object set active true. No, that's indicated. We'll make this into true. Make this to false. And then make this to public fade in, public fade out. There we go. So from fade out starts from solid color, goes down to clear. Starting from clear, it will go up to 1. Okay. Where do you add this? We're gonna add this in the network manager, network room manager. When we load a scene, when we unload a scene, unload, yeah, dapat dito. When you unload the scene, we're gonna make it to fade. We're gonna try to make it fade. Sorry, here. Build, return, fade manager, instance, fade in. And then when we load it, We'll return fade out. That should be it. Fade in, fade out. Make sure this is disabled. Also, sorry, forgot to add. Make this don't destroy on load. Hi. Total duration, where we can use this? When we teleport the player, we don't want them to move. Uh, so player that pet component player controller enable pulse. Sit here. Okay. And then you'll return fade manager the instance that duration, and then player.get game object as a pet component player controller enabled. Disable. All right. 1 second. Image. This one. Okay. Is it 10 minutes? I think that was 10 minutes. I hope that was 10 minutes. Post. Join. Start. Why are you all the way there? What did I do to you there? Yo, that was a flashbang. Hold on. why, why did you? That wasn't even a black. You're just, oh, ah, 0000. 000 000. Right. 0 0 0 0 0 and 0 0 0. Post join. Oops. So post join ready. It's so weird spawning there. Move here to the right. We weren't able to, at least. We didn't even fade in muna. Fade in. I think fade in, we can do it instead of in the demo network manager. We can do it in. Oh wait, no. I can do like what they fade manager instance. New wait 4 seconds. Oh, this work duration. Make it wait first before fading. Well, you get the point. Uh, all right. So we can use a fade manager. Question is, where are you supposed to actually put the fade in, fade out? Somewhere. Fade out. Fade in is when before moving to a scene, they should fade. Technically, that will be here in that here when they collide, fade, and then make it fade out somehow. But yeah, so that's how you do the fade. Okay, so we're just gonna have to use a fade manager. Make it notice turn load, so you have access to it anywhere. Do the public static instance, so you can immediately get it. You can use it anywhere, or you can use a instance, a singleton manager. You could do that, and then you can use it wherever. Okay, questions, clarification? None. Okay. Sige. So, for you guys, this auto delete tayo na ano eh. Delete tayo ng isang araw. This should be 25. We have time? 9. I'll make this both to 25. No. Let's do this. This should be 25. This one, Saturday. Saturday. Masyadong kung tayo time. 2, 9. Kailan mo no? Kailan finals? When's finals? They posted that somewhere. 11 to, no, 12 to 18. That means 12 to 18, 9? Oh, sorry. No. 12, 25 to 9? 1 week? I do 16. I can technically do 16. Mm, I don't have a choice. 16. Oh, yeah. Oh, wait, what is that? Wait. Not that one. This is on 2. This is 16. 2 weeks. You can submit earlier. Okay. I think that should be fair. Fair? Is it fair? So lapit ito. Kai, can you wait in 1 week? 2 weeks na lang. Okay. So next week, module 3. Module 3, it's just use ano. Use whatever you just learned today. Additive. Is we in the negotiation phase or acceptance phase? I think we're in the acceptance phase. Because we had so many days na because of the storm, things had to be moved. So we have no choice here right now. I really want. Is finance all new project? New project. Finance will be an all new project. Okay. Anyway, module three. Module three is just what we learned today, which is the uh loading scenes. So again, we will use this. Maybe you want players to go from one scene to another. Not just like Stardew Valley. Maybe you want them to go to, let's say, to a dungeon while the other players are like still up somewhere. Yeah, you can do that. Oh. Maybe you want them to go to a shop scene. So if they go to this place, they go to a shop scene. So pwede rin yun. What else can we do that? What else can we do with additive scenes? Mm, shop scene, dungeons, rooms, houses, somewhere where you have a different location for the player, right? So that's what you're gonna use this for. Uh, so I just want you guys to use how I've used it. We have to load all the subscenes for the server, and then you have to create a enumerator for additive scenes, loading and unloading of it. You don't have to do the fade. It's just added lang. You don't have to do this. More of if you're able to move scenes from one place to another. And then I want you guys to, well, not really required, pero I want you guys to play around with what you have here. That's how you learn and how to use this. You have to play around, see if you change something, what will happen. If you make it wait for more seconds, what will happen? Sometimes you end up something weird, things not syncing correctly, right? So just play around. Uh, that's how you learn in doing this. Or instead of maybe having to do this here, maybe you want to create the I enumerator. Do it later on instead of um, during sending the player. So you can do that. Okay. So I just want you guys to try to send the host different scenes while other players are in other scenes. Okay? Questions for module 3? I'll change the text to the description of module 3 later. Questions? Clarification? I'll be posting this video um by tonight for you guys to watch. No questions? Uh, it's fine. Okay lang kung GitHub. It's alright. Let's just check it. Any more other questions? None? Okay. Alright. No, di pa. Alright. So if that's all, if you have no questions man, you can always just message me naman. Uh, I'll reply naman as soon as I can. Okay? So yeah.